are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Hello and welcome to Law Talk on Germantown Municipal Television. My name is Vince Perryman and I am a local attorney with the law offices of J. Vincent Perryman. Each month, Law Talk focuses on a wide range of legal issues and topics. On today's show, we'll focus on immigration law. With us now is immigration attorney Rehim Babaoglu. Did I get the last name
Vince,
correct?
you can call me Ray.
Okay.
Thank
Ray.
you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. So, immigration is a hot topic, but it's a broad area of law as well, and people think about it just coming and going between countries, but I think it's more than that. I'm not 100% sure how much more, but.
In immigration law, there are two branches, non-immigrant visitors and immigrants. The non-immigrants are your students, your business visitors, temporary workers, exchange visitors, scientists, people working on advanced projects temporarily. And then you have the immigrants, those that are intending to come to live to the United States, either through marriage or an employer sponsorship, or eventually, if they're illegal long enough, they will acquire some sort of benefits and opportunities that will allow them to adjust status. So you have all of that working in the system. And then you have your citizenship applicants, permanent resident applicants, students who are in trouble, people out of status that want to get back in status, businesses that need temporary employees, the best and brightest from around the world. And so we stay busy, stay busy.
Yeah, and it's one of those that when you talk about the employers, some of the school systems around here used to sponsor H-1B visas for teachers.
I've done them for the schools and universities here in the past, high school teachers and such. There's a great need, as you know, in education today, there's a great need for qualified teachers and bilingual instructors as well, English second language programs and such, great need for those.
Yeah, and it's one of those that, it's got sort of this cloud over the whole immigration thing with all of what goes on with the news and everything. But I mean, it's a to me, it's a simple and straightforward process, like almost anything is with the law, where there's rules and you jump through the hoops.
If you do it right, you can achieve your goal. And even, as I tell my clients, even the ones that are illegally here, we can give you advice, and there are methods and ways of bootstrapping and making yourself qualified for permanent residency here in the United States. One of the first things to do is, of course, if you don't have a Social Security number, get a tax ID number, file tax returns. That's always good. Number one, it's following the law. Number two, you're documenting your presence here in the United States over the years, which comes in handy later on in deportation proceedings, to terminate deportation proceedings and get a green card because you've been here a long time and there's hardship to your U.S. citizen children or spouse. So that paperwork, all of that helps.
Yeah, and it's one of those, having done the tax stuff myself, you'll get folks that come in and they're like, well, I don't want to fire, this doesn't match up or that doesn't match up. I'm like, just get a TIN and
Vince,
do
the
tax
bane
stuff.
of my existence are what I call notarios, those unofficial tax preparers and immigration forms preparers that just swindle people. You've seen paperwork where they've claimed 6 relatives in another country, nieces and nephews and all that. You can't do that under the tax law. That's fraud. So we have to undo and amend tax filings. I work with CPAs who can work with undocumented individuals and straighten out their paperwork.
Yeah, and the other interesting place that this has come up for me recently is handling some personal injury clients. There was one occasion where we had an illegal that got hit by an 18-wheeler on a motorcycle. It took his arm off. And that one, the guys had to take it up to the Court of Appeals because whoever it was a special judge that was an older fellow that had retired and now has passed away, but he had said, no, you don't get to recover because you're in here illegally. And the Court of Appeals rightfully said, no, you have a right to recover for this lost arm.
Yeah, residency for immigration purposes is different from residency for legal purposes. In other words, you have to be a resident more than 6 months in Shelby County to get a divorce. Well, someone who's illegally here has resided more than 6 months in Shelby County and is qualified, can file for a divorce. Same thing with personal injury, workers' comp, those kinds of actions and contract. This is the jurisdiction to entertain those lawsuits. They reside in this jurisdiction. They can call upon our courts for relief or remedies. So the Court of Appeals was correct.
Yeah, and the insurance companies now, they're also, if they think they've got somebody that's illegal, because their job is to try not to pay out, they're like, well, we want the tax identification number for that individual. And some are like, well, I don't have that. And it's like, well, get one and start filing.
Exactly. So, and we used to also, when I done workers' comp and personal injury actions involving undocumented workers, we used to use motion practice motions in limine to take away the prejudice. In other words, seek instructions from the court to prevent a defense from raising the specter of an illegal, undocumented worker here trying to rip off the system. No, as you said, he's injured and entitled to a remedy, And we've had instances where insurance companies just drag their feet and then the worker disappears or the worker's picked up and deported, and that ends the case. No liability for the defense or the insurance company. It just got solved that way.
Yeah.
And who made that phone call? I'm not going to guess, but,
Yeah. Well, and it's an interesting thing, because I think that kind of segues into the whole thing, how the immigration laws, they touch on all these other areas.
Oh, yeah.
Because you've got certain requirement. Well, I've got a friend that had worked for the Tennessee Supreme Court here that is now one of in the Justice Department, going around arguing all the circuits on the immigration cases. And it's interesting to sort of hear the takes on that, about what some people will do and what they will red flag and what they won't in getting citizenship.
For citizenship purposes, basically, you have to have good moral character for 5 years prior to the time you file. 5 years permanent residency. And if you have good moral character, you're eligible to be a citizen. Apply for, pass the test, be a citizen. But if you've got a crime or an arrest or misdemeanor or admission to a crime, then you're disqualified. Or if you haven't filed tax returns, you're disqualified from citizenship. Or if you claimed falsely to be a citizen, or if you registered to vote, or God forbid, if you did vote, that's a felony and a deportable offense.
Okay. Well,
So, yeah.
when we return, we'll continue our discussion about immigration laws. Please stay with us.
So who's going to do what?
I'll pack the dead batteries.
Great.
I'll only put what I don't need into a duffel bag.
Perfect. That's totally unhelpful.
No problem.
Meanwhile, I will try to comfort everyone by speaking in a calm voice. And who is going to handle supplies?
I can forget to do a list for us.
Thanks, pal.
We couldn't be any less prepared. I'm proud of you guys.
Talk to your kids about who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who once took care of you.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back. I'm Vince Perryman. You're watching Law Talk. Joining us on our show is immigration attorney Rehim Babaoglu. We're discussing immigration law. Before the break, we got into how immigration law, functions and sort of flows through all these other areas of law. And I know the big topic has been the executive orders and what this current administration, I guess it's the Trump administration, is going to do, or what may come out of all of this.
As that proverb, Chinese proverb, we live in interesting times. This administration is trying to keep its promises, and it's created a panic in the immigration community. Our business has just jumped up. I have huge numbers of clients now that want to go on to citizenship. They don't want to stay as permanent U.S. permanent residents. That's too tenuous a status, traveling and problematic issues coming up at border inspections. They want to move on to citizenship. So we've seen that increase. Then we've had an increase in a number of undocumented people coming in for consultations, wanting to know how they can get back on the path to legal status. I find that half of them have never been to an immigration lawyer in many years, and that's just sad. They could have been prepared for all these years to get legal. Some of them have been victims of notarios, unscrupulous individuals who take advantage of them. And so we counsel those people, and typically I have hundreds of questions to ask them, more questions to ask of them than they of me in the debriefing and briefing session in the consultation, and the recommendations that we make. Tax ID number, tax filings, clearing up criminal matters, vacateurs. Very often we contact other lawyers, specialists, post-conviction relief lawyers, to do vacateurs, to set aside convictions that I know will bar this individual or will automatically deport him. So we arrange for those things. And and that's what we've had, people panicking and calling. My Dreamer kids, the DACA program, Deferred Action Children Arrival Program, the kids that are on two-year visas and such, they're panicking, wondering if they should renew their DACA, or the ones that become eligible for DACA are calling and wanting to know, should we file, should we not file? I don't want to be on the government registry, And my theory is, yes, file. This is the law now. Get on track, take advantage of it before it may disappear. It could be vacated. There could be an executive order terminating it. Look, President Obama created an executive order for it. This next president can do away with it. It's just an executive order. It's not a law. Of course, it can be challenged, but it was challenged before, recently under Deferred Action Parental Arrival Law. And because it went through the courts of appeals, the Fifth Circuit and then Supreme Court, and with the tie in the court after the death of Justice Scalia, the Fifth Circuit decision stood and it was constitutionally challenged, so it fell. So very easily someone could challenge DACA. So we have that group of children. We've done about 100 of the DACA kids, and they're great. They're going to college. They're moving on with their careers. They're insurance brokers. They're teachers. They're everything. They've just come into the community.
Exactly what you want to be in your society.
On the grid, paying taxes just like you and me. You know, taking responsibility and meeting them. And so I enjoy working with all these folks. And so, the executive order on that 7-country deal was challenged. It's going to be argued in the Ninth Circuit en banc decision. We'll see what happens. But there may be also other executive orders that may be coming forth. And I've heard the second round of executive orders, which may affect Pakistan, Venezuela, Egypt, and a couple of other countries. So it's not over. I mean, the president has powers to say yay or nay on who comes into the country. And so it's not over. Now, the other theory I have is that we're going to get immigration relief from both sides of Congress. We don't want to call it an amnesty law. That's a no-no. It's earned permanent residency, earned citizenship program. You remember a few years ago, the Democrats proposed it, the Republicans shot it down. Then the Republicans proposed it, and the Democrats shot it down. Tit for tat, you know, payback. Well, I think both houses of Congress can coalesce around this, even bipartisan, to come with an amnesty law. It's long overdue. There are people here, been here 25, 30 years. I know I have hundreds of files, consultations, and documents showing they've been here that long. They would qualify for this amnesty program. They've been paying taxes for decades. Their kids are citizens. You know, they're fully established here. They're not going to go anywhere.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's just, that's a fact of life. So I think that's going to happen. Some of my colleagues don't believe it, but I tend to believe it. I think it's time. I think its time has come.
Well, I think some of it may be helped too by the executive orders coming down, because I think both sides of Congress are like, all right, we need to put this to bed so we can get on with some other stuff.
You're perfectly right. The more that these issues are up there, the more the realization is, you know, let's solve this. I mean, we can't just piecemeal do this for year after year. Let's just solve this. Of course, if we're talking about amnesty, typically, those individuals with criminal records, I mean, serious criminal records, felonies, capital offenses, and all that, will automatically be excluded. They cannot. But in the past, we've had amnesty laws that allowed for 2 misdemeanors and no more. You know, so I think a lot of people will be covered by this. And of course, a requirement of tax filings.
Yeah, and that's the...
And back tax filing. If you haven't filed back tax filing, and you know, after 3 years, it's just informational filing, but that's okay.
Well, and I've had several come in where I've had to file 3 or 4 years for them, and you know, the first time it happened, I didn't quite know why it was I was doing this, other than paycheck, and then I realized, oh, okay, this is...
It's to document your presence here, and you know, and that you have good moral character, and that you filed and you did the right thing. I mean, I know of a case in immigration court where the individual was deported because he failed to pay taxes the last 3 years, and the immigration judge gave him the opportunity to do it while he was in removal proceedings. He went to a CPA, he got a tab of, I don't know, $37,000, didn't want to pay it, then was ordered deported.
Yep.
So my question is, how much is a green card worth? I know people that would pay $100,000 or more for a green card. $37,000, a pittance.
Yeah.
You know, for the rest of your life and security in the United States. That was foolish of that individual.
So that's a good place for our break. When we return, we'll talk more with Ray about immigration law.
They're coming. Places, everybody.
Light check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Everything looks good on our end.
And lights.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you. Everybody has a dream. Mine was to see the ocean. And with a little help, I made it.
You are watching Germantown Municipal Television, your source for everything Germantown.
Welcome back. With us now is immigration attorney Rehim Babaoglu. We were talking about immigration law. Ray, before the break, we got into the executive orders, and prior to that, all of the stuff that goes along with immigration law and how it kind of weaves through every other area that a lawyer might deal with. And it always strikes me what the viewers tend to want to know is how do I vet someone for this, for immigration? Because I know in the past week, you talking about how the executive orders has got everybody worried. There's all this immigration work out there. I know just this week alone, I've seen 3 new law firms advertising immigration law in Memphis,
Yeah, it's an opportunistic situation. I hate to see that. I think for people, for instance, I speak several languages. Okay, we can cover 6 languages if you come to my office. But that's not necessarily the guideline, someone that can speak your language. I think it's got more to do with how long you've been in immigration practice, what is your reputation. You can check this out through the Tennessee Bar website to see who's been disciplined or not, and determine whether you feel that lawyer is good for you. We don't advertise, never have. It's just strictly word of mouth. Yeah, I'm on some of these AVO and other places where I answer questions and all that, but I get very few from that. I get a lot of people from the internet that have checked me out on the internet, but mostly it's word of mouth and from lawyers, from other lawyers that, they have confidence in you. And one of the things I do is just handle the immigration problem for the corporation or individual. I don't take the client.
Right.
You get the client back. You get your corporate client back, your tax client back. I just deal with that problem, that aspect of it. And they offered to hire me. So no, go see Mr. Perryman. He'll take care of your taxes. I don't know anything about taxes. So that's kind of my MO, is your reputation. You reap what you sow. You lay out some goodwill, and you'll reap it tenfold. I mean, it just comes back to you. And people will knock on your door begging you to take I can't take them all, but they're begging you to take your case because they know you solved other people's problems and they had worse cases, so they want you. And that's nice. That's a nice position to be in.
Well, and I think one of the things that you had said, talking about when people come in, how you've got hundreds of questions for them because you're trying to sort out, okay, which category are you going to fall in as far as what I need to do?
What remedies, what options are available to you, how long they will take, what the cost will be, why the government requires you to do certain things. I've had people that have had 3 other lawyers over the last 30 years, and they come to me, and at the end of the consultation, they say, I now understand what happened to me and where I am and why the government is doing this or taking this position. I understand it now, and I know what I've got to do. I've got A, B, and C, and you've told me what the odds are for A, B, and C and what the cost is. And I let the client make the decision. I don't want their lives in my hands. You make but you make an intelligent, informed decision. I feed you all the parameters of what the law requires and how you fit into it, and you decide whether you want to go that route. And I may recommend also, but they're so pleased to have a session like that. Most of the times they go to a lawyer, somebody's walking in and out, the lawyer's taking phone calls, distracted, not really paying attention. No, I do a consultation, door is closed, and I always talk to the client alone. Never with an interpreter, because I can speak several languages, I don't need an interpreter, or never with a family member. You'll never get the truth.
Right.
You will never get the confidential information that you need to be armed with to make a decision. You don't want to be sandbagged later. Oh yeah, I had this crime, soliciting prostitution. Well, why didn't you tell me? Well, my wife was in the interview with me and I was too embarrassed. I couldn't tell you. you want people to be honest with you. It's like a kid who breaks a window at a ballpark, a neighbor's window. Did you break that window? You know, you're interrogate him in front of his parents. No, that wasn't me, that was Johnny. They're not going to tell you the truth, but if you ask them alone and debrief them, you can get this done. I mean, you can really get to the nub of things. And we do Freedom of Information Act requests with the government, with Customs Border Patrol. We do FBI background checks, literally with fingerprint cards. Someone can't remember if they've been arrested or where they've been arrested. Oh, you're going to get a fingerprint card. We're going to clear that up.
Right.
It's not going to be guesswork.
Well, and I think the other thing that I always try to tell people, when you go into an attorney, you're paying them for their time. Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Well, exactly. I tell people, bring your questions with you. Write them down ahead of time. I don't want you to feel like you forgot to ask a question. And at the end, I give them my card with email. And you can email me, follow up a question. It's not going to cost you anything. You've paid for a consultation. You know, follow-up questions? No.
Right.
And some people see me after 2, 3, or 4 years and come back for a consultation. I charge them half a consultation, you know, to update everything and let them know what's new and what we can do then. So I keep records for years because I know folks are going to come back to me years from now. Legal files I keep for 10 years.
Right.
Immigration files, 10 years. I mean, I think the TBA and Tennessee Supreme Court suggested, what, a 5-year retention of files? I do 10 because inevitably my clients keep coming back for this, for permanent residency, for citizenship, other issues, you know. It's never over with them, so it's about 10-year lifespan for an immigration case.
Yeah, and that's the thing with that is I think the things people can take with them on this is make sure you've got an attorney that's open to answering questions and that's asking you questions and saying, well, it falls into this box or this box. Otherwise, you may not be getting what you're paid for. So we appreciate you being with us today. And our time is up for this edition of Law Talk, and I'd like to thank our guest for taking time out of his busy schedule and being with us to share his thoughts and insights. If you'd like more information about Law Talk or any other program on Germantown Municipal Television, please refer to our website at www.gmtvonline.org. Thank you for joining us today, and be sure to join us next month for more legal topics. Until then, I'm Vince Perryman, and thank you for watching.